Hello, Shawna Karrasch here with another Ask Shawna answer. This one comes from Stephanie, and she says, I've been around older horses all my life that were already set when it came to quirks and personalities. I just recently purchased a 5-month-old paint filly. Well, congratulations. She hasn't had much hands-on exposure to humans, but she's very nosy and she likes to be around people. I want to be able to gain her trust completely and not be too shy. She will let us touch her, but you can tell she's still a bit standoffish. I want to be able to start working with her now while she's still young so that she will one day be a good mare that my youngest daughter can ride. My daughter is 13. Any helpful advice to kickstart this young, no pun intended, I'm sure, to kickstart this long, wonderful ride would be helpful. I'm in this for the long haul. Thank you. Stephanie, first of all, good for you being in it for the long haul. And also, this is a place where a lot of people, I think, really drop the ball. They have babies, you know, they'll have a young horse come to them and they leave them in the pasture basically until they're, you know, they want to start a riding program, or they bring them in for the littlest bit of thing, but they primarily leave them out. And I know they need a lot of time out with other horses and playtime and all that, but I think if we bring them in, you know, once a week and have a little bit of human time for things we can prepare them for, a lot of things. I mean, we kind of just anticipate things they'll want to do. I mean, well, need to do, you know, they always need to be able to trailer in case there's some injury or accident. They always need to be able to wear a blanket in case something happens, and then be touched all over in case you have to address a wound, or soak their foot in a bucket, or be clipped if you have to clip a wound, or, you know, so there's a whole lot of things we can prepare them for, let alone the riding process and all that comes with it. Now, what you're telling me about your little gal, how she seems a little standoffish, but she's quite nosy and likes people, I think that standoffishness is going to go away quite quickly, and you're going to be working on keeping boundaries. That's what I think anyway. But either way, it's always a balance. All the training is a balance. We want bold and bright and right here and loving life and curious, but we also need them to be respectful of our space and our, you know, and the potential that they can do for us. So they need to learn impulse control. So it doesn't mean we have to, you know, get them to submit or anything. We just need to teach them some impulse control and when to be a baby, and give them plenty of time to be a baby, and then working to keep them a little quieter. So for now, as you're building confidence, a lot of times as she comes in and comes to you, if you back off slightly, a lot of times that's very encouraging for them, and you can start doing the clicker and the target. You can get her used to those components right off the bat, because these will be tools that will be grand for you forever. But in that range, we also want to be sure you're really focusing on that standing quietly, keeping their head to themselves, and that's really, really important. It's the most important behavior in the whole wide world, if you ask me, is standing quietly. I mean, that if you have standing quiet and relaxed, you've got everything else is easy. So you want attitude. Attitude always trumps behavior. So get a good attitude. And part of a young, bold horse's personality, that attitude is just going to be that kind of waiting and being polite. But like I said, you also need to give her plenty of places where she can go be a baby. So I would teach her. So as we're starting to teach a young horse to stand quietly, so work on that teaching, turning the head away, building relaxation into that process, because relaxation is so important part of that process. So as she's learning to stand quietly beside you and keeping her head away, look for her to, you know, at first she might be like, oh baby, I just want to do stuff and how can I, but look for her to kind of soften a little bit and soften a little bit till she's just nice and calm and relaxed about it. If she gets too excited as you're coming up to maybe start a session with her, wait till she settles down to start the session. All the components of the positive reinforcement training become classically conditioned. That means they all become conditioned reinforcers. What we do in the beginning with that click feed, click feed, click feed, to give the clicker value, or whatever we want to use as a bridge signal, that classic conditioning actually never stops. We focus on it for teaching the clicker, and then we kind of forget about it. It doesn't stop. All that association starts building. So we ourselves and the training itself can become a conditioned reinforcer. So as you approach her, if she's all, "Way, here you come," and over the top, or all nervous and scared and over the top, both of those things can be reinforced if we start the session with that mental place. So I look for them, if I feel like there's too much going on, I'll just kind of step aside for a minute and kind of relax and take a deep breath and focus my attention somewhere else until I see them settle back down. When I feel like they're settled down, then I start the session, because that actually becomes, you can reinforce that behavior. It's like feeding time. When you watch feeding time in a big barn, everything those horses are doing, every single time we feed our horses, we are reinforcing something. Period. Whenever they get reinforced or fed by anybody, we're reinforcing something. So a lot of times the horses that paw and bang and do all that, it's just a superstitious behavior that they did, and then they got fed, nobody paid attention to, but they think it's part of the whole process. That's the same that can happen with that mental place that they can get in before we start the sessions. So I hope that makes sense. So those are the things I look for. Look for her to build, to come to you, and you back off a little bit while you're building the boldness. She's going to get over that, and pretty soon you're going to have a bold horse, I think. And that's a good thing. You want a bold, confident horse. So then we're going to start looking on that, looking for that calm relaxation, keeping their head away. Now, I want you to be able to stand there for 10 minutes and her be nice and calm. But with a baby horse in the beginning, that's not so easy. You know, they want to come and go and do things. So what I have a tendency to do is, and I started this with the Commerce and Dolphins. This is where I really learned. I will stand quietly for, you know, when I first started working in the Commerce, and say attention span of 30 seconds. That's not very long. And, you know, you're like, well, how are we going to work with that? They've already been worked for 3 years and they have a attention span of 30 seconds. So what we do, we knew they would stand still for 30 seconds. So I said, okay, everybody stand still, be with your little dolphin. And then at 25 seconds, because we still knew we had everybody move. So we ran around a little bit and then stopped again for 25 seconds and ran around a little bit. So we gave them something that they wanted and found very important and valuable, which is that movement, the running, the activity, getting to do something. And then that was intrinsically reinforcing. And then we gave them the food reinforcer, primarily for the being quiet. And then pretty soon we built that up. So it's 35 minutes of standing quietly, and that's 45 seconds, not minutes. Seconds of standing quietly, and that's 50, and that's a minute, till eventually we got up to 30 minutes where they would stand quietly. But it's the same kind of thing with our little young horses. They want to move and go play. So you can teach them, okay, we're going to stand quietly. Okay, now we're going to walk a little bit. Now we're going to come back and stand quietly again. So you give them a little break from that as you're teaching them to stand quieter for longer periods of time, and they will start to build that up. The liberty leading exercises, working on the downward transitions and the calm, relaxed downward transitions, also is really good for them to start to learn that emotional or impulse control, where they start to feel a little excitement and then they get reinforced as they start to come back down and relax. So that pretty soon we can go full big excitement, but they learn to bring it back down and relax by themselves to get reinforced. So we want that to be a skill that they learn to do. So when we just stand quietly, they go, okay, and bring it back into being relaxed. Anyway, so you have a nice, exciting time ahead of you. And I would also, this is something you can do with your daughter. You know, keep the communication really strong, because there is an intellectual component to it, and it can be so fun for kids, but we can kind of forget that standing quietly is more important than doing stuff, and they will do stuff. So just, you know, use some guidance there, but it becomes something that'd be really awesome for the two of you to bond with together as you teach your young little filly to come along. Anyway, so Stephanie, keep me posted on your progress. I'd love to hear how it's going, and I'd love to hear the name of your little filly. Anyway, so if you have some questions, have an update for me, I'd love to hear them. You or anybody else can go to AskShawna.com or to ShawnaKarrasch.com. And until next time, enjoy getting your horse on target. Bye.